everyone, it's Dr. Denny over at For Posit Fulsher Veterinary Clinic, and today Jordan and I are going to be chatting a little bit about what to do if you found a newborn kitten.
Dr. Denny, how do I know if a kitten is orphaned?
So a good rule of thumb is if you've watched the kitten for a few hours and maybe even like half of a day and there's no sign of the mother. Mama cats are excellent mothers. It is very rare for them to go far from their kittens for very long. So I would say if you find a litter of kittens or a single kitten and it's all by itself, and at least make sure it's in the shade and that it's out of danger. If it's in danger, I would go ahead and just pick it up. But if it's like under a shed, I would give it a few hours. If we still haven't seen evidence that there is a mother cat nearby taking care of it, then you can feel free to go ahead and step in.
Can I hold a newborn kitten?
So yes, you can, but we probably need to make sure that the mother cat is not still taking care of the kittens, especially like if we are, if the cats are not feral and you know that you're going to be able to handle these kittens later, it's better to let the mom do her thing. If we are trying to collect feral kittens from a feral mom, then it's best to trap the mom and then get the kittens and you can handle them from there. You do want to make sure that you're washing your hands before and after handling the kittens. Number one, you don't want to give them a disease that you may have from another cat that you've come into contact with. And number two, we can catch some diseases from our cats. So we need to make sure that you are washing your hands both before and after.
How do I keep a newborn kitten warm?
So I think that's a really great question. Keeping newborn kittens warm is probably one of the most important things, especially if you have an orphan kitten. Their body temperatures run a little bit lower, and also they're not able to self-regulate. So up until they're a few weeks of age, they can't regulate their own body temperature. And whenever they get cold, it's very likely for them to get sick and they don't do well, and sometimes they don't make it. So you can keep them warm with a warm towel. You don't want to have like a heating pad unless they're able to get off of the heating pad, because you don't want them to wind up with burns. So making sure that, if they're in a space where they can move around, that they can move towards or away from the heat as needed. But I really like warm towels. I think put the towel in the dryer, not with the kitten in it. Keep the kitten, towel goes in the dryer. But you can keep the kitten warm that way until you can get care.
How do I care for a kitten without their mother?
So this one is a little bit more of an in-depth question, and it's definitely one that I would hope that we would have in person because it is a lot of information. But to summarize, newborn kittens will need to be stimulated to go to the bathroom, every 2 to 3 hours. You can use a warm, damp washcloth and gently rub around the genital areas. That's going to stimulate them to urinate and defecate. That's what the mother cat does for the first few weeks of these kittens' lives, and that does need to happen every 2 or 3 hours. We have to learn, have to teach you guys how to bottle feed, how to get the correct formula. We need to make sure that kittens are gaining weight daily, so you need a gram scale. We need to make sure that the kitten is vocal. We should, if they're quiet and they're opening their mouth and no sound is coming out, that's not normal. We need to make sure that they're breathing okay. So I think it's best if we were to have this conversation in an exam room, because there is quite a lot that goes into it and more than I can just spend in just a couple minute video.
How do I care for a newborn kitten that's been found with the mother?
That's a lot easier. So we're really blessed in that mother cats they're excellent mothers. Yay, instincts. So we can both collect the mother and the kittens, and as long as we're taking care of the mom and she's in a warm, safe, dark, space that's sheltered from wind, rain, etc., cold, and making sure that there's food and water available, she will do the rest. As long as we're making sure that the kittens are gaining weight and mom looks good, let mama do what she needs to do.
How do I know if a kitten I found is healthy?
So the way we're going to know is I of course would love to be able to examine the kitten. So a physical exam is going to be really helpful in determining, hey, are we nice and healthy? But some kind of hallmark signs to look for is, are we mobile? So newborn kittens are really wiggly, these tiny little bodies, and you think that they're not, and they're so strong. You don't think they would be as strong as they are. But super wiggly, mobile. We should be vocalizing. We should have nice pink tongue. If you find them and they're just a few days old, then we're gonna have our eyes closed and ears closed. We shouldn't see any fleas. We shouldn't see any maggots. There should be no open wounds. Their umbilicus, if they're super newborn, then we need to make sure that's nice and clean. We need to make sure that we're not having like blowout diarrhea. So those are kind of some hallmark signs, but the best is always going to be to come in and make an appointment so we can have this discussion and I can make sure that the kittens are okay.
And lastly, what is fading kitten syndrome and how can I prevent it?
Okay, so fading kitten syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. So for reasons that we don't always understand, not every kitten or not every newborn animal is going to make it. No matter what we do with all the care in the world, sometimes they fail to thrive. So this can be due to a multitude of reasons. So there might be something internally wrong, okay? They might have a hernia or maybe a heart defect, which is another reason to get the kitten in, because if there's a heart issue, we can usually hear that with our stethoscopes. And there's diagnostic tests that we can run to say, okay, hey, this kitten was born with this, this is how we fix it, or hey, this kitten's probably not gonna survive, it might be kinder to let them go. So I would just, there's also infectious diseases. So a big one's going to be the feline herpes virus can cause fading kitten syndrome. It's very contagious. There's not a lot of treatment besides supportive care. So we try to support the best we can. So if you have a kitten that you suspect is fading in front of you and you're doing all the things, you're feeding, you're making sure we're hydrated, you've dewormed, you've done all these things, and yet this kitten is failing to thrive, number one, the first thing you need to do is pick up the phone and get that kitten into a veterinarian to see if we can intervene, but also knowing that sometimes even with veterinary care, even with intervention, sometimes these little guys just don't make it, and it's heartbreaking. But you do need to be aware, like when you adopt a kitten or if you find these orphan kittens, it is a full-time job, and sometimes they don't make it despite our best efforts. All right, guys, so I hope this helped answer some questions about how to take care of newborn kittens. If you do have further questions or if you found a new kitten, please call and make an appointment so we can go into a little more detail. These videos don't leave a whole lot of room to spend the amount of detail, and also the questions that may be brought on when we're in the exam room are really important. So please give our clinic a call and we'd be happy to help. Thanks, guys.